This is a video about death. I paused for a moment at the bookshelf in a basement of an estate sale I was at last weekend. Mixed in with the Sue Grafton, Dan Brown, and John Grisham books were titles like Peace in the Face of Cancer and Radical Remission. Don't worry, this video is also about making money. Estate sales are interesting because they give you a look into the lives of total strangers at a level of intimacy that you can't get anywhere else. What other opportunities do you get where it's acceptable, encouraged even, to sift through the bedrooms, bathrooms, kitchens, pantries, garages, closets, and yes, bookshelves of total strangers? The items you may find don't just give you an opportunity to make money. If you pay attention, they tell a story, and at estate sales, that story is often one of life and death. This is why I find estate sales so interesting. They are a reminder that life is short and that you can't take the physical objects you care so much about today with you when you're gone. And one day they may be purchased by a stranger like me who turns around and resells it to another stranger halfway across the world. How cool is that? Today I'm going to share with you everything I know about the lucrative sourcing method of estate sales. For new resellers, they can be an overwhelming and intimidating way to shop, but it doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to give you everything you need to know to integrate estate sales into your sourcing routine, including online estate sales. I'll give you tips on where to find them, how to navigate them, talk about the best times to go, and give you an idea of what to look out for when you visit your next estate sale. Let's dig in. First, there are thousands of companies and individuals across the United States running estate sales, and no two are alike. There's no rule book that dictates how estate sales must operate, and so the advice I give you today should not be considered definitive. Estate sales are going to be different depending on your location, and even then they're going to differ based on who is running them. And even then, the same company might operate differently depending on the individual sale because the families hosting have different wants and needs. So while every estate sale is unique, what I'll share with you today are guidelines that should be generally accurate for most estate sales, but be sure and do your research on a per company and per sale basis and take note of any unique characteristics or rules that may be in play. Second, yes, estate sales can be a somewhat creepy way to source for new inventory. It can feel invasive, almost like you're violating the privacy of someone no longer with us just so you can make a few bucks. But it's important to remember that you are doing the family a favor. They've already sifted through their loved ones' valuables and saved the items they care about. As insensitive as it may seem, the family just wants this stuff gone, and you are helping to relieve them of the burden that comes with suddenly inheriting a house full of things they don't want. But don't forget to mind your manners. Remember, you are in someone else's house. Be respectful and treat everything as you would your own. Also keep in mind that the family may very well be in attendance or even running the sale, and so keep your negative comments and wisecracks to yourself. I've seen more than a few shoppers put their foot in their mouths, so don't be one of them. So with that out of the way, how do you find estate sales? The most common way is via estatesales.net. They have a website and mobile app, and most major estate sale companies are listing their sales there, so it should be the first place you check. But some of the best sales I've been to are ones that I did not find on estatesales.net. This is because smaller companies or families running private sales might not know estatesales.net exists, or they don't want to pay the $99 listing fee, so you'll want to check other places like Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or other classified platforms popular in your area. Checking those as well will give you an opportunity to discover sales that people who only check estatesales.net will miss. These sales almost always end up being less crowded, meaning less competition, and the smaller companies and families running their own sales have less experience, so pricing can often be good with a higher tolerance for negotiation. This past fall, I followed a roadside sign for an otherwise unlisted family-run estate sale and ended up buying a giant collection of 90s toys, video games, and other relics that grossed over $2,000 for only a $100 investment. That sale was a great example of the kind you will find if you broaden your research beyond the obvious. Okay, which day should you go to an estate sale? Most estate sales span multiple days, and which days will heavily depend on your particular area and the individual company running the estate sale. Most common, though, are weekend sales like Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday, or Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Weirdly, Wednesday is also a day to find both estate sales and garage sales here in St. Louis, so do some research to see what is common in your area. Estate sales happening on a weekday often means it'll be far less crowded than a weekend sale, so take advantage if you can. But whether you go on the first day of the sale or not really depends. On the first day, the companies running it are less likely to negotiate on prices, but all the good inventory will be there, of course, and so if there's something you're hunting for in particular, it's probably best to go on the first day. But I have found some pretty amazing stuff on the second and even third day of an estate sale. Part of the reason is because they might be charging a lot for some item that no one is willing to pay, but on the second day, when prices are cut in half and willingness to negotiate increases, the deal makes more sense and there's enough margin to make it worth reselling. On the second or third day, most estate sales are going to cut prices drastically. Again, this depends on the individual company running it, but in my experience, most will go half off the second day and then something like 75% off the third and final day. Some companies offer things like bag sales on the last day where you can fill a bag with whatever you want for some predetermined amount like $5, which is a good way to score large amounts of relatively low value inventory for cheap. If you have the time and gumption, going to the same sale each day it's running is the best way to maximize your chances of scoring big. Being there on the first day increases your chances of getting the highly desirable and lucrative inventory, while showing up on the second and even third day gives you the opportunity to snatch up discounted stuff missed or passed over due to first day pricing. But before you even step foot inside of an estate sale, you should plan on doing some research. Several days before the sale starts, most companies upload hundreds of pictures of the inventory available inside, and this gives you an excellent opportunity to look items up on eBay before you even get there. I regularly browse through the photos looking for inventory I'm familiar with and interested in, and if I spot unfamiliar items that look interesting and potentially valuable, I look them up from home so I don't have to waste time at the sale. Be sure and check both active and sold eBay listings to get a good idea of both active and sold market values and sell-through rate. If you don't know how to do that, check out this video of mine which tells you everything you need to know. Doing your research beforehand also gives you an opportunity to create a mental map of the house you are soon to enter. When spotting items you may want to buy from the photos, seek to understand what room they're in so you know where to head once you get inside. And don't be shy once you get there. Ask someone working which way to the kitchen, or say, I'm looking for that Pyrex bowl, is it still here? And they'll point the way. Okay, so you've found an estate sale and done your research. What do you do once you get there? Most estate sale companies utilize a numbering system to determine how many people get to enter at a time and in what order. Check the sales listing to see how each individual sale will operate. Most will specify a time, usually an hour or two before the sale starts, that they will begin handing out numbers, just like if you were in line at the post office. You need to be there physically to get a number, and then once the doors open, they will let people into the house ordered by number. Some houses can be small, and a good estate sale company will limit how many people can be inside at one time so that it is not overwhelmingly crowded. While some companies will provide bags or even handheld shopping baskets, most don't, and I recommend you bring your own shopping bags. I strongly prefer the big blue IKEA bags because they are incredibly cheap and can hold a deceivingly large amount of inventory. I keep a few in the trunk of my car at all times. If you don't have a bag, this means you have to carry everything you find or use the hold tables. Most companies will have a few tables set aside near checkout to let you stash what you're going to buy while you continue to shop, but I rarely use them. Not only is it a pain to have to keep walking back to a table to drop things off, but you will no doubt hear stories of people's stuff being snatched off of hold tables while they shop, so I don't risk it. Once inside, I usually head directly to the basement if the house has one. I sell across all categories and find that basements are usually where I find the most interesting inventory to buy, but all houses are different, of course. If the house has a basement, you can bet that it's most likely going to be filled with an eclectic mix of inventory, and it's one of my favorite places to hunt. Let's look at a few things I've found recently while shopping from the basement of an estate sale. This is an example of something I find at almost every estate sale. It is a DVD VCR combo. This one happens to be a DVD recorder, so it's a little bit more expensive, but whether it's just a straight up VCR, a VCR DVD combo, or VCR DVD recorder combo, any of these are going to be definitely worth reselling. I sold this one for $114.98. It only took 4 hours. I found it in the basement of an estate sale. I made $71.09 on that. The reason these things are so valuable is that they just don't make these anymore, so you can only buy them on the secondary market. Almost every estate sale I go to has at least one of these, and so definitely pick them up if you see them. Here's another good example of something I found in the basement. A basement, again, is going to have kind of an eclectic mix of different things. This is a Welch Allen thermometer. It's kind of like the kind you may use in a doctor's office or hospital. This thing sold for $119.89. I paid $2, if you can believe that, at an estate sale. They just didn't know what they had. It's an uncommon estate sale thing. It's not like an antique or a vintage item. So they just didn't know how to price it. They priced it low. I ended up making $95.64 on it. So pretty awesome thing to find in the basement of an estate sale. Here's another example. Sometimes I find stuff that I don't even know what they are. I didn't know what this thing was. It turns out it's an antique hard candy drop roller. It's to make candy. It's an old antique piece, and I paid $8 at an estate sale. It was in the basement with a bunch of other junk. This thing sold for $330, if you can believe that. I had a net return of $201.60. It took 6 months to sell, so it was kind of a slow seller, but still, great find at an estate sale. Most other people are going to overlook this. I used Google Lens on it. It told me it was a candy drop roller. I then checked eBay comps and saw that they were pretty valuable, and this one sold for over $300. Because electronics are one of my favorite things to buy and sell, if a house has an office, it is usually the next place I go. This is an example of something I found in an office at an estate sale very recently, just a couple days ago. This is a Microsoft Easy Ball. It's like a giant trackball for kids. It's from the 90s. This thing is super old, super cool. I love finding stuff like this. It's not a huge money maker. I paid $5. It sold for $39.99 in 3 days. I ended up making $22.49. Any of these vintage computer peripheral parts like this are going to be good money makers. Trackballs in general can be really valuable. This was not the most valuable one, but it's a pretty cool one. Remotes are another good thing to look out for. This thing I didn't even test. I had no way to test it. I couldn't tell if it was working, so I sold it untested for $46.98. I found it in the office of an estate sale. My net return was $33.43. It only took 2 days. Remotes are just a great thing to look out for. My rule for remotes is the weirder and the more obscure remotes that they are, the better they're going to be. That rule doesn't hold true all the time, but it certainly did this time. And check out this handheld game. I see these things all the time, and they're never priced more than $1 or $2. Estate sales have these very common. I found this one in an office at an estate sale. Not a big money maker, $17.99, but look, it only took 7 hours to sell. I made $10 on it. Why not? So anytime you see these old electronic handheld games, pick them up. They're definitely worth it. They're always going to be cheap. Kitchens are another good place to find valuable inventory, whether that's pots and pans, vintage glassware, or even modern appliances. So I found this vintage Pyrex flameware glass coffee maker in the kitchen of a estate sale. This thing sold in 4 days for $84.98. It was only priced at $6, which I thought was an excellent deal at an estate sale. Typically, this would have been priced much higher at an estate sale, but for some reason the company running this estate sale was not pricing this thing very high, and I snatched it up really quickly. I ended up making $54.59. Great thing to look out for. Pyrex in general, vintage kitchenware, and a lot of coffee aficionados out there who like interesting, cool ways to make their morning brew, and this one sold pretty quickly. I see these all the time in kitchens at estate sales. This is a Wherever Super Shooter electric cookie maker. Right around Christmas, these things sell for really good money. I ended up making $25.91 on it. Here's another example, an electric griddle or waffle maker here. I paid $6.25 at an estate sale. It sold for $49.65. The net return on it was $25.68. It only took 3 days to sell. These things are they're tanks. They're built to last. Plug it in, you make sure it heats up, and it's good to go. Bedrooms are usually filled with clothes, shoes, and other hard goods commonly found in a bedroom. Don't forget to check the closets. Because yeah, up in a closet, you might find a hat like this. This is a vintage NASCAR hat, but it's special because of the pattern on there. That's called a shark tooth pattern. This thing sold for $31.94. It only took 2 weeks to sell. $22.72 was my net return on it, just sitting up in the closet of an estate sale. And yes, I will buy and sell underwear. Vintage underwear are a great thing to look out for. These Hanes briefs, I think they were from 1987. 3 packs of them. Each one of these are selling for $29.98. Looks like I only have one remaining, and I've made a total of $47.43 selling 2 of them so far. Vintage undershirts do really well as well. So anything in a package like this where you can verify the date on it is going to be good. I wouldn't be buying loose underwear. I would go with packaged only, but yeah, this new old stock underwear, great thing to look out for in the bedroom of an estate sale. And most other resellers are not going to know that they're worth money, and estate sale companies also don't know they're worth money, so they're going to let them go for only a few dollars. Or a bedside clock like this. This was not a super valuable or desirable one, but it's still sold for $17.99. Oof, I only made $1.39 on that. Maybe that wasn't such a good buy. But anyway, check for clocks. The flippy clocks do really well. This one was not that desirable. I probably shouldn't have bought it. But hey, we'll keep it in here because that's the reality of reselling. Not everything can be good. Bathrooms are often overlooked by other resellers, but they can be a gold mine for valuable inventory. A member of our Flipwise Discord server shared this Band-Aid friction block he found in the bathroom at an estate sale, and it's an excellent example of common but valuable items that are going to be cheap and overlooked by most other resellers. This was some Old Spice shave conditioner from 1991. I bought 4 packages of them. I've sold all 4 of them already. The total payout on that was $49.19 after all taxes and fees. Again, so check the bathroom. There's going to be a lot of stuff like this. If it's old, if it's discontinued, there's going to be people out there that are looking for it, and eBay is really the only place where they're going to find it. If you sell tools, the garage should probably be the first place you go. While I don't pass on tools when I see them, it is not a category I know much about, so I usually save this one for last. But I have found some pretty valuable stuff shopping for from the garage. Here's an example. I think the homeowner was looking to do some repairs but didn't get around to it, and I found 5 of these satin nickel privacy door levers for a bathroom remodel, it looks like. Only took 7 days to sell, but one person bought all 5, and so I ended up getting a net return of $57.15 on that deal. Or how about this pet safe cat fence receiver, also found in a garage of an estate sale? This thing was really valuable, only $2, sold for $104.98. It took about 2 months, so it was not a quick sell, but I ended up getting a net return of $82.79 on this one. Or this RoboTools Vector laser level. This thing I spent $5 on. It took 3 months to sell, $60, $59.98 total, and I ended up getting a net return of $38.85. And so the garage is usually going to be filled with things like tools or things like this laser level. What about online estate sales? When you're checking estatesales.net, you will likely notice a few online-only estate sales which are run as auctions. These became extremely popular during COVID for obvious reasons, and while their popularity has dwindled, they are still usually a handful running at any given time here in St. Louis. If you live in a relatively large metro area, I'm sure it is no different. This can be a fun and easy way to shop for new inventory from your couch, but I don't use them all that often. My biggest problem with these auctions is that you, of course, can't guarantee which items you will win that you bid on, and far too often I end up losing 8 or 9 out of the 10 items I bid on, but win 1 or 2 things that makes it hardly worth going to pick up. This is why I don't source much from HiBid or other local online auction sites either, but many people make great money sourcing this way, so don't let me dissuade you. Give it a shot. Just keep in mind that you can't guarantee what you'll win, and you may find yourself occasionally wasting time picking up far less than you actually bid on. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. You may also enjoy these other videos from me, like the ultimate guide to thrift stores for eBay resellers and how to source new inventory like a pro. If you have any other tips or tricks I missed for estate sales, let us know in the comments, and see you next time.